Hey, what's up, guys? It's your girl Kia, and I am back for another video. It is very late at night, later than I usually like to record, but I definitely wanted to get this content out. My kids have spring break next week, so they're going to be running around the house loud, and I wanted to really focus on this content. So recently, documentarian Louis Theroux came out with his Inside of the Manosphere documentary, and it has made shockwaves on social media. A lot of people are talking about it on TikTok. All the Manosphere guys are talking about it. All of them are mad about it who were featured in it, and it's a very interesting documentary, and it's not really shocking to me. It's shocking to me that these men agreed to be in here, thinking that their worldview was going to be something that everybody was going to go, "Oh wow, this is a really interesting way. I didn't think of it like that. I didn't look at the thought process from that." So it's definitely going to be interesting, and I wanted to discuss it. What I find the most interesting is that all of these manly, manosphere, muscly, I work out, women want to love me, got duped by Louis Theroux. Like, I'm sorry. Louis Theroux is a very smart man, but he's kind of the unassuming geek. He really is. He's that kind of Mr. Steal Your Girl because no one's suspecting him. And and again, I think I said this, is that a lot of these manosphere guys aren't very well read, so they had no idea about Louis. And he's not just some guy trying to make clout off having a documentary about them. That is not what this is at all. Louis has done several documentaries. I'm very familiar with his work. I will tell you the first documentary I watched of his that I really liked, and that was I think it's called The Most Hated Family in America. And that's when he went to go live with people who are a part of the Westboro Baptist Church. If you guys don't know who the Westboro Baptist Church is, they are those people who hold sign outside of veteran funerals saying that, gay people are going to hell and God hates you and, you're going to hell and this and that, like a lot of crazy stuff. And that documentary was so well done because it showed every perspective of it. It showed the Westboro Baptist Church as a family because all of them are related except for I think two families, how they live, where the houses are set up. They're all around this like big giant field where they have activities. The kids grow up in the family, they're to take over. And it showed people who, there was actually a Chinese man who came to the church was interested in coming into the church as a complete outsider. There's a family who left their regular life and came in there. And then he showed the way the lives of the girls who left. And it's a really good documentary. The other documentary that he did that I really liked was the one about this. I think his name is Jimmy Savile. I saw that documentary. It's actually brought up in this documentary in a really weird way. And then his My Scientology movie. So if you're looking for content on Louis, please don't think he just popped up with this Manosphere documentary. He has been doing this for a long time. I mean, that The Most Hated Family in America documentary, that came out in 2007. That is how long he's been doing this. So let's go ahead and dive right into this documentary. So I got notes right here. He follows four main guys. So he's following Harrison Sullivan, who is HS Tiki Taki. He's following Justin Waller. Justin Waller has the Real World University, is also really good friends with the Tate brothers, which a lot of these Manosphere guys all worship the Tates. Then he has Amro Foudy, also known as Myron Gaines from the Fresh and Fit podcast. And then he goes into Sneeko. So those are the four main guys that he follows. And listen, this may shock everybody, but I am very familiar with the Manosphere. Not in some weird hateful way or some weird feminist way, but I work a lot in front of computers. I can't have silence in my head. So what can I listen to that's just going to be long stretches of talking where I can it's almost like white noise to me. So I have listened to long episodes of the Fresh and Fit podcast. I've also listened to the Whatever podcast, which is technically a part of the Manosphere, no matter what the host likes to say. Andrew, I forgot Andrew's last name. All of a sudden, mine's going blank. I'm tired. He's on that podcast. I have listened to Sneeko before. I have listened to all of these guys. So it's not familiar to me. So I'm not going to go through the order of the documentary. I'm going to go through each guy. And if you see me looking down the screen, it's because I'm looking at my notes. So his first person is Harrison Sullivan, HS Tiki Taki. And Harrison Sullivan is actually on the run in the UK because he got into a really bad car accident. And instead of facing charges for that, he decided to run and is living in Marbella, Spain. And he my issue with him is that, and he doesn't believe this, but his audience is teenage boys. He doesn't think that. But the things that he says about teaching young men how to be little pimps and how to like be men and his version of masculinity is just very, very creepy and sad. And it makes me realize that, people like Harrison are salesmen. And that's how he started out. His first career was, his first job was as a salesman. And he's kind of parlayed that into, being online famous. And he thinks that he can wrap Louis up in this world. So Louis and him talk the first time, and then, I'm trying to remember because it's a little bit later and that my notes are not as clear as I wanted them to be. But he talks about he shows Louis a video of himself getting head from some girl. This was on the second visit. And Louis is kind of like, well, does she know she's being recorded? And he's like, yeah, well, then why would she do that? All logical questions anybody would ask about them watching a video of a girl doing a sexual act. Like, why is she doing this? And also, why are you showing this? And Harrison's very proud of this. Everything for him is for clout. Everything for him is about his online school on how to day trade and how to make money. He's selling this dream that, like all of them are, that you can have all these women and look like me and have all this money and everything in life is great. And in reality, it's all just a grift. And he has a sidekick whose name is Matthew. I think it's Matthew Eddy, who went from a little kid on YouTube showing himself eating marshmallows to now showing sex offenders, would be sex offenders, he doesn't even know, people who they're kind of catfishing as sex offenders, showing them eating dog food and attacking them, even though, they don't have any real proof. They're not cops, they're not investigators, but they're doing this for online, online entertainment. And they're out on the streets, and Eddie is talking to people, and all of a sudden Harrison, who was the original focus of this documentary, just disappears. And the reason why is because the entire time Harrison is on live. He's streaming all of it. He's streaming him with being with Louis, and a lot of the followers, which surprised me, which means some of those followers either Googled really quickly or are educated, realized who Louis Theroux was, and was like, this is a really, really horrible idea. You don't need to be on screen with him. He's going to roast you. He's going to make you look bad. This is not a good idea. So Harrison, after the terrible reviews, he just disappears. And the funny thing about him disappearing is that he disappears, but he gets back online and is talking to his followers. And of course, because he's online live, Louis can see it. Louis looking at the stream kind of like, what's happening? Is everything okay? Because even when Harrison left the first time, Louis like, are we good? Like, is everything fine? Like, we're just having conversations. I'm just trying to get to know your point of view. And again, Louis very unassuming. No one really is thinking Louis has any. I think they all of the men you'll see in the documentary all think that Louis has bad intentions and that he's going to make them look bad. Not that their views are bad or that they've done anything bad, that he's going to make them look bad. And I'll go into that. So Harrison then disappears. So while Harrison disappears and decides not to talk to Louis, even though he's on live talking bad about Louis and saying all these crazy things, Louis moves on to another subject. But eventually they come back together. He approaches, this is the second time. So he's approaching Louis now with a little bit more bravado. And Louis hits him with a very, very interesting but factual thing. And that's that, you are no different than Bonnie Blue. Bonnie Blue is a porn star. She's disgusting. I'm not going to go into the whole Bonnie Blue situation. She's gross, whatever. If this is what feminism is, I don't want it. But he basically says that on one hand, Harrison, you're promoting girls on OnlyFans because you want to give your future kids a good life and all this kind of stuff. You're rationalizing it the same way Bonnie Blue does. Because Blondie Blue did the same thing. Like, I'm making a lot of money, my family is proud of me, and I'll have a life for my kids. You're rationalizing the awful, horrible behavior. And Harrison is doing the same exact thing. And he was completely offended by that. But let's be honest, it is the same thing because Harrison is promoting these girls. He's showing Louis this video of him getting, head from this random girl. He's promoting OnlyFans girls. He's running an OnlyFans house. Like, he's doing all of these disgusting things. Just because Bonnie is having sex with a bunch of men, you guys are both on the same level of disgusting. You're just finding a new way to get to hell. You're both doing different ways to get to hell, but you're both gonna get there. And it's he really hates that comparison, but it's right. And now there's another. It's weird how Louis leaves him and comes back and leaves him to come back and leaves him to come back. And on this time, on the second time, they do this thing, and I think Louis is starting to realize that he's a part of this weird game of of clip farming and saying horrible, awful, awful things, getting as many clips as you can possibly can, clipping them, and then you can put a logo of a brand on there, like an online gambling company, and just say, "Hey, you're gonna be, the head of this video. Your logo's gonna be in this video. This video is gonna get thousands, thousands of views," which is true, and that's how he makes his money. They actually have a video of that sidekick kid Matthew beating up a so-called quote unquote pedophile, beating him up, attacking him, and they clipped that video up and then they put a logo on top of it and put it online. Like it went live and they took it down and then clipped it up. And then they start trying to use Louis as part of their content. And if anybody knows a good documentarian, they do not want to be the subject of their documentary. They don't want to actually be in the documentary. They just kind of want to be off to the side, asking questions and observing and asking questions. But because these guys are moronic content creators, they are trying to pull Louis in. The good news is he's aware of it, so it's not as bad. But what ends up happening is they ask Louis these crazy questions, or the chat's asking questions, and then Harrison asks them, and they bring up Jimmy Savile and Jews and this and that and all these ignorant things, and they just take those little portions of maybe Louis not saying anything for a second or processing for a second, or they just cut off his response and they put some crazy headline out and they put it on TikTok. And they're just doing it for clout. And Harrison says the word clout so many times. So, oh, it's just for clout. I did it for clout. I need it for clout and da 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 da. And that's it. There's no value to any of the content. Like if this was something that the manosphere really needed that was going to bring value, cool. But you just doing it for clout because you need money because you don't really have another skill is really it's crazy. And Louis actually makes a point of saying that it's the hamster wheel of content creation, and that's what it is. And that's how I feel about all the TikTok creators, not the YouTubers. And I'm not saying that because I put on YouTube videos. When you look at YouTube videos for long forms, like what I do, it is real effort of putting together video and, editing it and putting in other clips and having to talk and actually be able to present yourself. It takes a lot of work. I mean, I look at people like Luesta, who puts out long form videos all the time, from the hip hop industry. When I look at Pink Book Lessons, she's kind of a conservative voice, a black, a female voice, conservative voice. She does a really good job. She's putting out long form content. When I looked at TikTokers, you're just taking what's hot for the second or for the next 5 minutes. You're putting out a quick video and you have to do that so many times over and over and over again. And it's just you have to have as much content as possible to make as much content and make as much money as possible. Because I know for a fact that the TikTok partnership fund or whatever it's called does not pay you a lot of money. Give me a second. So after that second interview, after like the whole pedophile fight thing and them trying to loop Louis into the content, HS again then goes online and starts spiraling about how, I don't give a F about what Louis Theroux says about me. I'll say what I want. I'll do what I want. I don't care about homophobia and racism and this and that and da 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 da. He's just spiraling. I think it's a combination of him not wanting to look stupid in front of his chat and also, again, the clip farming, the hamster wheel of content creation that he's just putting out over and over again. And he knows that people will be interested in this because you have a well-known documentarian interviewing a moron like Harrison Sullivan. People are going to want to tune in for that. So now in the third attempt, one quick thing. Because Louis is trying to see if Harrison's way of life actually works, with his whole day trading investing thing, Louis puts in $500. By the end of the documentary, Louis is down to $168. He has made no money and said he has lost money. And that's what happens with a lot of these guys a lot of these men who think they can be a part of the manosphere, and be a part of these kind of universities take my course and invest like I do, and you'll be like me. They end up with nothing. They end up with zero money. So now let's talk about the third time Louis meets up with Harrison. For some insane reason, Harrison is now bald. Like he's bald and his mother is there. Okay. And she's the in total opposite from him. And it's a very weird thing because he is live streaming while Louis is doing the documentary. And what Louis does not know is that he's getting questions from his chat who I guess are just Googling random things who don't understand. They don't understand. And and Harrison is now asking Louis, who of course is answering, but he's a little confused about how this is going. And of course, Louis goes back and looks at the entire stream and finds out that before he walked in the door, there was this whole plan with Harrison and his team, and his mother was kind of chastising him about having a juice, if he needed a juice box or not before the show started. He's like, "No, mommy, I don't want a juice. I don't need a juice bar." And she's like, "Don't talk to me like that and don't disrespect me." Like a mom would chastise a young child, which is very interesting because in front of Louis, he's this big back, strong, masculine guy who knows everything, and I'm the manosphere. Boo, boo, boo. Like it's just very, very goofy. And the questions they say is that I heard you were friends with Jimmy Savile. And, let me just make sure I have his name is Jimmy Savile correctly. I'm just going to Google really quickly. For those people who do not know who Jimmy Savile is this right? Hold on, hold on, hold on. So let me just say this correctly. So Savile often came into contact with his victims through his creative product for the BBC and his charitable work for the NHS. A significant part of his career in public life involved working with children and young people, including visiting schools and hospital wards. He spent 20 years from 1964 presenting Top of the Pops aimed at teenage audiences and an overlapping 20 years presenting Jim Will Fix It, in which he helped the wishes of viewers from many children come few. During his lifetime, two police investigations consider reports about Savile, the earliest known being 1958, but none had led to charges. The investigators had each concluded that there was insufficient evidence for any charge to be brought related to sexual offenses. Sporadic allegations of child abuse were made against him dating back to 1963, but those were made widely publicized after his death. His autobiography, As It Happens, 1974, reprinted as Love is an Uphill Thing, 1976, contains admissions of improper sexual contact which appear to have passed unnoticed during his lifetime. So he was accused of sexual abuse, and Louis Theroux actually interviewed him and actually helped a lot of these allegations come out. But the chat doesn't know that. When you watch Louis' documentary, it looks like Louis is sitting with one of his friends and talking and chatting and getting to know him and just catching up the same way it's happening in the Manosphere, with the Manosphere documentary with these guys. But again, Harrison's chat doesn't know that. So they're saying, "Oh, you're friends with Jimmy Savile." I don't even think they know who Jimmy Savile is. They just see when you Google Jimmy Savile, these things come up. They also talking about you're just listening to what the Jews tell you, what the Jews tell you. And we'll talk about the Jewish thing at the end. And Louis doesn't have a response because honestly, how do you respond to that and say, "I'm doing what the Jews tell me"? What are you talking about? And that really is the end of his segment with Harrison. Harrison um doesn't really end up anywhere. He ends up going back to the UK to face his charges. He ends up getting a year of suspended sentence. But this is why documentaries are different. And I don't think Harrison realized that. I think Harrison thought that they're just gonna that here's this goofy white guy with glasses just gonna come and ask me a couple of questions and I can railroad over him. Who cares? That they don't do research for documentaries. They don't really look at my stuff. And they showed all of his stuff that was happening while Louis was interviewing him, and it just made him look awful. It made Harrison look so bad. And I feel sorry for him because I feel like he's really stupid and just doesn't know how a documentary works. Even at the beginning, when he's first with him and they start filming and they just wanted to get a filming of his workout, instead of answering Louis's questions and talking to Louis, he starts grandstanding in front of the camera, and Louis like, who are you talking to?" He's like, "I'm talking to the camera." He's like, "Why? You talk to me. I'm the one interviewing you. I'm the one asking the questions. You talk to me." And he was kind of confused and baffled by that because he's so used to being in front of, again, little teenage youngsters who hang on your every word and want to hear, and instead he's now in front of an adult documentary and having to be articulate. So let's go to the next person. The next person that, oh, let me get my notes up. The next person that is interviewed is Justin Waller. Justin Waller has the New World University, which has now kind of been banned on social media platforms because it goes after children, like specifically goes after teenage boys because we say things like, mow a couple lawns, get help people with groceries and earn a couple dollars to spend $50 a month to get into my program. And you shouldn't be targeting children like that. I don't care what your program sells. You shouldn't be targeting young people like that for this type of stuff. But Justin Waller actually has come from a steel family, like a steel magnate family, and was doing very well for himself. He didn't need to be a part of the manosphere. I don't know why he got into it. It doesn't really make a ton of sense. And I'll go into the history of all these men at the end because I think that's really, really important. And he just kind of goes into, he pulls up to Louis. He does this concept of him getting out of a Lamborghini or Ferrari or some kind of fancy car. And, Louis is just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, nice. That's really interesting. You're getting out of a Ferrari. And they start having a conversation, and it goes into how Justin Waller views relationships. And he says the line, and the line has been clipped a bunch on social media. Everybody's seen it about being in one-sided monogamy. And this is how a lot of the manosphere men think that one-sided monogamy is a thing. And that means they can sleep with as many women as they want, and their partner is not allowed to sleep with anybody. And Louis kind of just looks at him and is like, well, what does that mean? And Justin goes, it stings, huh? Like, yeah, it really hurts. And Louis just looks at him and it wasn't sting or hurt, Justin. It was confusion. It's confusion. You have to explain the one-sided monogamy. And again, I just explained it. That's what it is. It's really what they believe that their girls should not have sex with anybody else. They can have sex with as many women as they want. And, every time that Louis asks a question to any of these men, they're like, oh, you're digging, you're poking, you're asking too many questions. What did y'all sign up for? This is a documentary. You signed up to be a part of a documentary. Like you didn't sign up to just sit in front of a podcast mic and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, or doing some webinar where everybody's listening to you. There's going to be questions. And during this question, during Justin's segment is when they go into the whole red pill space and why the red pill exists. And don't get me wrong, and I know this is going to be really weird for people to say. I think there is a world where the red pill does need to exist. I do. I'm sorry. When you have podcasts out there that are very, very female centric and men don't have anything that kind of speaks to them, and they hear that men are bad, or men are this and men are that. There needs to be an opposite to that. And the opposite of it is the red pill. Now, do I believe the red pill is toxic? Absolutely. Because it's not like there's certain videos that or certain channels I feel like are really good with keeping it balanced. Like mediocre tutorials and reviews. He is, I guess, kind of red pilly, but not 100% red pilly. He speaks up from the man perspective, which I feel like without being toxic. When you have these shows like Fresh and Fit, or the whatever podcast, when they purposely bring on men to talk down to OnlyFans girls, they're not bringing on regular everyday women. Even the smart women they bring on are either half dressed or annoying or crazy. Like the whatever podcast did one good show, and that's when they brought on Candace Owens. And I like Candace Owens. I think she's very smart. I think she's great to have on. And then the rest of the time, they bring on these women, whether they're conservative or not, who are they're just to me, they're just slutting in different wrapping paper, and it's again that's what the red pill is, especially Fresh and Fit. They only bring on girls who are OnlyFans models and influencers. They only bring on girls who represent the worst of femininity, of the feminist movement, where you have women like me go, if that's feminism, I'm good. That's not what I want to do. So again, I believe that the red pill doesn't need to exist. Do I believe there's huge discrimination against men? Absolutely not. And that's what Justin is talking about in this segment, that there's discrimination against men, and men are disadvantaged and blah blah blah. Men are not disadvantaged in the world. They are not, especially not white men in the world. Like get out of here with that. And they show Justin's wife. So Justin apparently has three homes. He has his office, then he has a bigger condo, and then he has a beautiful home in Aventura where he lives with his wife. And his wife to me is hilarious, and not for the reasons why she would hope. I'm so sorry, sweetie, but she goes along with what he wants. He wants to have the family at home and do his own thing, and it's kind of an don't ask, don't tell situation, and she's cool with it. And she was just like, yeah, I was really happy in my career. I was an X-ray tech. Now, when she said X-ray tech, I was like, X-ray tech? I thought she was going to say she was like a nurse practitioner, or she was a doctor, an anesthesiologist, or she was an engineer. She was an X-ray tech. So, and then she's like, well, yeah, I gave up all that high-powered career and all that to be a wife and mom. And, I just don't ask because he provides and he makes me happy, and I'm okay with it. And whatever. In my mind, I was like, you gave up, you didn't give up anything. You went from making maybe $80,000 a year to now living in multi-million dollar homes. All you have to do is shut your mouth up and give him babies. Like, that's easier than being an X-ray tech and only making 80K a year. 80K a year is a lot of money, but you're an X-ray tech. Let's not act like you gave up some high-powered career that you had to go to school for years and years for to to succeed at. You went from what you chose to go from one thing that is not as high up to, okay, let me rephrase this. An X-ray tech is not going to make the money that Justin Waller was promising her and what she has, the multi cars in the driveway, the two condos, the home, the traveling, the this and that. X-ray tech life is not going to give you that. I am not saying that that life is not fulfilling and it doesn't give you money or anything. What I'm saying is it's not going to give you Justin Waller lifestyle money. So she's not agreeing with everything that he has to say, in my opinion. She's going along with it because the lifestyle is a lot better. Um, let's see. So that's everything on Justin Waller. And now let's jump into everybody's favorite red pillar, who has the most interesting segment and the most interesting pushback that he's having right now. And that is Amor Foudy. And that's Myron Gaines. Amor Foudy is so funny. When he said the name, I was like, who the hell is that? Then he said Myron Gaines. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that's Myron's real name. I always forget that's Myron's real name. And if you don't know, Myron's from the Fresh and Fit podcast, and they Fresh and Fit, or well, Myron agreed to do an interview with Louis, and and Myron is very skeptical of anything that's mainstream media, and anything that he labels anything that's negative against him as mainstream media. I don't know if anybody else notices that. If they're against him, they're mainstream media, or they're stupid. People who consider Louis Theroux mainstream media are don't understand either what the word mainstream media is, or don't understand what Louis Theroux does. Whatever, fine. And he's thinking that Louis is going to do a hit piece on them. So he's recording while Louis is recording. Louis does not care. And let's see. And they're having a regular conversation. So here's where it gets interesting. Myra does not think he's a misogynist at all whatsoever. He loves women. He just thinks he knows everything for them. So in walks Angie. And here's a background story that a lot of people don't know. Last year, after being with Angie for a long period of time, Angie broke up with Myron. And he talked about in the show that he couldn't give her what she wanted. She wanted to be happy, blah, 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 blah. What nobody realized is that this happened. They broke up right after Louis interviewed them, maybe like a month after. I didn't realize it. Of course, nobody knew. I didn't know they were being interviewed by Louis Theroux. Sorry. So that's a really interesting timeline. And the reason why it's interesting is because Angie comes into the room because she's there to help Myron clean up his room, get him organized, whatever. Fine, that whole thing. And Louis starts asking him questions because before Angie comes in, Louis asks him, how do you feel about women? And he's like, I want to have multiple wives. I think is what worked best for me. That whole spiel Myron always does. So Louis asks Angie a legitimate question like, hey, you're his girlfriend. How do you feel about him? And Angie gives an honest answer like, what you guys see on the show is not who I know Myron is, which to me let me know that this is a grift. That behind closed doors, that you're actually a loving, caring person who would never ever have multiple women or multiple girlfriends. You're just saying that because it sounds really good for people who aspire to be you. And, and she just is kind of singing his praises and how he's sweet to her and nice and kind and loving, which is fine. And then Louis asks, cool. So how do you feel about him wanting multiple girlfriends and multiple wives? And her face kind of goes flat. And she's kind of like, I don't think he really wants that. And I'm paraphrasing that, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And Myron says that he's been honest about it. And I believe that Myron has been honest about it. But I really believe that Angie thought if I am enough for him, he would not do that to me. He would not make me be one of several wives on his plate. He would never, ever do that. But you can see kind of the weirdness in her face of, I really don't want to be one of multiple women, but I do want him to be happy because I love him. I really don't want to be here at all right now because now I'm ultra awkward and uncomfortable because this is not what he's saying behind closed doors. And he's doing the same thing on the show. Now he's doing with me standing right next to him in front of a documentary that's not just going to go out for teenage boys and weird people on YouTube. This is going to go out on Netflix. And I don't think that whole it going out to the world of Netflix is cool with her. Because let me tell you, the world of YouTube, people who consume, that content for Myron and for the Fresh and Fit podcast is maybe a couple of 100,000 people, which is a lot. No one's saying that's not a lot, but it's a couple of 100,000 people at the most over time. A Netflix documentary that's going to be seen worldwide by adults, not by people in their 20s, not by everybody in the manosphere, everybody who's going to now be questioning her sanity for being with him. I don't think she wanted. And I don't think it was about her being in the documentary. I just think she didn't think that he was going to be the way he is on his show. She didn't think he was going to do it on, Louis' show. And listen, behind the scenes, and I just saw this before I came to record this video, Myron wanted the whole situation with Angie cut out. He has posted multiple videos saying, oh, I'm going to drop a nuclear bomb on the Louis Theroux documentary. He didn't. His nuclear bomb was the fact that Angie was singing his praises, which Louis put in there. He just didn't put all of it in there. But we saw her sing your praises, Myron. We heard it. And how he worked so hard to get the Angie segment taken out for her safety. For her safety. You didn't have any safety for her when she was on other streams previously, when she's been in other videos previously. So why being in the documentary does it matter now to you? Now, I mean, I kind of get it, yeah, because this is now a worldwide documentary, not your little crazy, crappy bullshit, stream on YouTube. I get that. But you don't care about protecting her because you've let people in your chat say anything about her. You've let the world mock her who watch your show, the people in your world mock her for being with you in the first place because you want multiple wives. So Myron put that all out there, and Louis kept it all in. The other thing that happened was that they decided to let Louis go on the podcast. So Louis comes on the podcast, and there's a long segment the way Myron's show is set up. There's like a main so there's a learning show he does during the day. And then there's a main show that he does. Then there's after hours. So while they were doing the main show, where it's just like they're interviewing the guy, and then it's like Fresh and Fit there, he goes into where they keep the OnlyFans models, and there's a girl in there named Icy. So he starts asking Icy questions like, "Hey, why do you do this? It's kind of weird." And da da da. Myron finds out that Louis is back there and tells Icy to stop speaking. That is not a good look for you, Myron. It's not at all whatsoever because it makes you look like you are scared that one of these girls is just going to be honest about the situation. And the honesty about the situation is, it's fun. We do it for exposure. We do it for clout, whatever. That's what this entire world is about. It's a grift and it's for clout. So then they have Louis come and actually do the podcast. He is intrigued and confused at the same time. He is a older white gentleman who is here watching this craziness, and they show the video of the quote unquote medical professional who says that women hold sperm in their body of men who they slept with previously. That's why, kids look like previous boyfriends. Like when the woman gets married finally and she has kids, it looks like the previous boyfriend. It's a bag of bullshit. And of course, Louis like, what is happening? That is not That's not true. He's like, are you all serious? Do you really believe that? And of course, Myron goes, yeah, I believe that there's history, there's studies. And very emphatically, Louis goes, no, there's not. There's no study that shows that. And there's no study that shows that. That is not true. It's made up pseudoscience for, online people. And the really interesting part is that after the show is over and he talks to Myron and he just says, I really hope I didn't cause issues between you and Angie. And I believe that Louis really doesn't want to cause issues between Angie and Myron. And Myron kind of reassures him, no, you didn't, no, you didn't, da 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 da, it's fine. Angie's fine, Angie knows. Like I said, I believe Myron has always been honest. But I believe that Angie thought that I could be enough and I wouldn't be in that situation. I will be the best and he will be only with me. And the funny thing is, I really do believe what Myron is selling, what a lot of these men are selling is a grift about that whole I can have any woman that I want and I will have multiple girlfriends. We have never heard of any woman sleeping with Myron. Never. We've never heard of any an inkling, unless he's having them all sign NDAs, but even then people still talk. It's always just something he says in the show, but we've never seen him actually say in action that I slept with this girl or this girl has come out and said she slept with me. None of that has ever happened. So I believe that it's just not true. And that's why, Angie is probably annoyed and mad and why she probably broke up with him because at the end of this, a month later, she breaks up with him. They are no longer together. So lastly, there is Sneeko. I'm also familiar with Sneeko, and they showed a video of him when he was 15 and baby faced and talking about his Filipino grandparents wanted him to be a doctor and how he kind of wanted to figure out what he wanted to do. He's so cute in that video as a little kid, just trying to figure it out. And that's the same thing with Matthew Eddy with the Marshmallow Kid. These kids started out as little kids online just thinking it's going to be fun and something to do, and it turns into something different. So if you're not familiar with Sneeko, Sneeko used to stream with my Fresh and Fit with Myron, and then Myron got on his stream with a KKK hood doing the Nazi salute, and he ended up getting banned from all social media platforms. So he wasn't on social media platforms, but he reinvented himself as an is in from the in as a Muslim. Sorry, he reinvented himself as a Muslim, and then got into politics. And this is kind of where the manosphere kind of clashed with politics, and that was during Donald Trump's presidency when it comes to podcasters and stuff, because he really did between Sneeko and Aiden Ross and who else? What is his name? Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is not a part of the manosphere, but he and those podcasts, kind of strongman politics. Justin Waller has been seen with Trump. He's been at Mar-a-Lago multiple times. It kind of just started to clash because I think the reason why it clashed and clashed so well is because the manosphere is mostly white males. White males who feel disenfranchised, that no one's listening to them, no one cares about them, people don't share their values. And Trump really spoke to that because he linked up with these podcasters and was able to get that vote hook, line, and sinker because he was saying what those men wanted to hear, and Sneeko was kind of a part of that. And I feel like, Sneeko converted to Islam because he believes that in the Islamic faith that women are second-class citizens. So it's still manosphere. It's just manosphere with religion, with Allah next to it. So it's okay now. And I think that's a really big misconception about the Muslim religion is that women are to be seen and not heard. And when they're seen, they're barely seen. They're completely covered in this and that. And Islam is actually a very beautiful religion. My father-in-law is Muslim. And I think just kind of how you have the Church of Latter-day Saints and you have fundamentalist Mormons, you have Muslims, and then you have people who have what is it called? Sorry, I'm really sleepy. People who believe in Sharia law. It's like that. It's that kind of, you have people who are Christian, and then you have people who are Christian and they don't let their wives, wear pants. They only wear skirts. You have like the quiverful movement. It's like that. I think every religion has an extreme. You have people who are Jewish, and then you have people who are, I forgot what they're called. It's not Hasidic Jewish. It's another level up from that. Like there's always going to be a toxic part, and I think Sneeko thought that every part of the Muslim religion it was all Sharia law. Women are less than, men are the best, and it's not like that. And it also showed in the segment with him is that Sneeko was more into conspiracy theories and everything is satanic and everything is evil. It was just his segment could have been longer. I feel like if Sneeko had a better grip on reality, and it didn't seem like he really did. It just seemed it's a lot of conspiracy theories, and it's funny because he hold on, a lot of talking. Sneeko disavowed the red pill space 2 months. mm, a while ago. Yeah, he just about the red pill space a while ago, but then 2 months ago, it's not in this documentary, but 2 months ago, he was seen with Andrew Tate, the Tate brothers, Clavicle, however you pronounce that boy's name, and Myron Gaines singing the Hail Hitler song by Kanye West and going to a club together. And then he ended up having to disavow the red pill again, I guess after coming back for a hot second. So it's just very, very odd with where Sneeko stands with the Red Spill space. But of everybody, I feel like Sneeko is smart. I feel like Myron is smart. I do not feel like HS is smart. I do not feel like Justin Waller is smart. But those are the four people that he interviewed. So let's talk about a couple of points that I want to make. One thing that was kind of a side story was the two fans. I do not remember their names. I'm so sorry. There were two fans who were huge fans of Justin Waller and really looked up for him and really think that they changed their lives. But, one of them is off and on homeless. He invested and he did what they said to do, and he's gotten nothing from it. He also doesn't believe in he believes in men being men and not sharing your emotions and just being strong and, picking yourself up by the bootstraps. Mental health is not real, and his own brother died of suicide. It just shows that these type of manosphere guys, again, there are good manosphere guys, but these four manosphere guys prey on men like these two young men who are homeless and still figuring things out and thinking that acting like a real man makes you a real man. And that is not the case. And I felt so bad for them because, they're just kind of being led down this really, really wrong path. Point number two, all of these men are raised by single women, it looks like, and had abusive parents. I do not know about Myron. I don't know about Myron, but Justin Waller had a horrible mother and abusive father. Myron has never talked about his dad. I think his mother is single. Sneeko, I've never heard him talk about his dad. And Harrison Sullivan, I think his father was also abusive as well. This is what these men deal with. It's almost like they're trying to be the idea of a man that they did not have, how it should look for them, how a man should protect his family, be there for his family, be strong. No one can hurt you, no one can touch you, don't have emotions, and you can just get through it and strong and da 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 and stay and this and all these things that don't make a man at all whatsoever. I am someone who is married to an Indian man, and my Indian man is, when you look at him, people are just like, oh, you're married to a black woman. She's probably running all over you. They are so far from the truth because my man, my husband, has made it extremely clear about his expectations of me. And he has never, ever mixed words about that. I remember the first time I knew that my husband was not somebody that I was going to be able to toy with or make demands of. And I tell the story to everybody because it's a very significant story in our marriage. And that is when we got married. My mother wanted me to be hyphenated. She wanted me to be Gaines Shakur. And I was like, okay, mom, that's fine. Yeah, I'll definitely ask. I mean, I want to keep my last name because, you and dad and da 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 da, blah, blah, blah. I went to my husband and said, so I think I'm going to be hyphenated. How do you feel about that? The answer I got back was no. And it was the kind of no that made me realize, oh, there's no conversation after this. The answer is just no. And it was just no. There was no other conversation after that. I am Mrs. Nakia Shakur, have been. I'm not hyphenated. My husband was not having it. There was no additional conversation. That's that. And there have been other instances in our marriage where he's been very much just like, I said this, do not talk about it again, and I've not talked about it again. And he doesn't look like the type of real man in this video, but he is. And that is a type of man that I feel should be guiding other men trying to be husbands and fathers and lead families and all that thing, not the people, these men in the manosphere. These men in the manosphere have been damaged in some kind of way. And don't get me wrong, my husband too. My husband's dad was not around significantly. He was around, but it's not significantly and consistently. He is around significantly and consistently now. We see this man every single month, rain or shine, doesn't matter. He drives all the way to our house for a couple of hours, even if he has to drive 4 hours back. He does not care. He's consistent now. But when my husband was younger, he was not. But you know, lost my point on that. The other point, the last point that I wanted to bring up, no, there's two more points. The third point, what is up with the manosphere and the entire Jewish community? What is happening? Why, with each one of these videos, it is the Jews are satanic, or there's some cabal, or they're blocking you from us something, or they're controlling you. They won't let you say anything or see anything. What is this? I don't understand it. All four of these men, Justin Waller, not as bad, all went into some Jews are bad and Jews are evil and look what the Jews did. And I'm like, holy anti-Semitic Batman. Like, and they kept saying, well, that doesn't mean I'm anti-Semitic. Yes, it means you're anti-Semitic. That's exactly what, and I don't know why that is their go-to automatic thing. Every time something happens that they don't like, they don't like Louis asking them questions or document or about in his documentary. Oh, you must be controlled by, the Jews. And I don't even like saying the Jews. I don't. I always like saying the Jewish delegation, but that's what they're saying. And they're saying, well, you won't tell the truth, Louis, because of the Jews. And I don't understand. I wish somebody could tell me why does the manosphere hate the Jewish community so much, and why do they always act like they're in control of everything? Listen, you guys are saying something awful that everybody thinks is awful. Not that, only the Jewish community thinks it's awful. That's why they're blocking it. No, we all think it's awful. You say really bad things that are harmful, especially to men who are in their the developmental years, who are 18 and younger. I wouldn't want any boy 18 or younger listening to any of this content because it's toxic. Just like I wouldn't want any young girl listening to any feminist content. You are too young for that. You don't need to be having your brain formed that men are bad and you're the best and this and it's just all bad. And my last point before I hop off, because I'm exhausted, is that it's all a grift. It's all a grift. What Harrison's doing, and he basically said so himself, he kept using the word crowd. He's using the word clout instead of grift, but it's a grift. You're doing it for the money. You're doing it for the fame and the attention. You don't actually believe anything that you're saying. Same thing with Myron. It's a grift. And no, we know we think it's a grift. It's because Angie told everybody that who he is on camera and in front of everybody is not who he is with me behind closed doors, which makes it a grift. You guys know if you say the worst things possible, the most ignorant stuff, if you get in arguments with OnlyFans girls on your channel, people will watch, people pay attention. You'll get advertising dollars, you'll get TikTok money, so on and so forth, and that's why you do it. It's all a grift, guys. I'm sorry. It just is. And can I blame them for that? No. Especially not HS Tiki Taki or Sneeko, because even though I feel like Sneeko is smart, what were you guys going to do in the real world? Myron Amuro Foudy left a job. He left a good job at the FBI. He left a good job at the FBI where he actually cried in a video saying, I forgot what he said. If I can find it, I'll cue it here. But he said something along the lines of, I saving children was great, but saving you guys was even better. And then he started to cry. It's weird, but it's a grift. What were they gonna do? Justin Waller. He couldn't. He said he left being a steel magnate to do this. I don't believe that. He says he has a $30 million net worth. I don't believe that. Your real world university got shut down. So what are you doing now? Are you just jumping on podcasts and you have podcast appearances? It's all it's all a grift. So to Louis Theroux, you once again bought an extremely interesting, well put together documentary that is thought provoking, that got the attention of a lot of people, that really showed the subjects in their true light, not the light they may have wanted, but in a true, real light. And I enjoyed it, which is why I was like, I gotta go home. I really want to record this content. I really want to get this out there because people may not watch it and may not really understand it, may not know Louis's work, and also go watch Louis's work. A lot of the his former documentaries are now just regularly on YouTube. I know the one about the Westboro Baptist Church is actually just on YouTube. You don't have to like find it anywhere. I think the My Scientology movie is just on YouTube. The Jimmy Savile documentary you might have to go find. You might have to download like the BBC app, but he does great work, guys. I'm not even lying. So watch other stuff. Watch the Manosphere documentary. If you agree with me, disagree with me, if you're part of the Manosphere, let me know. Drop them in my comments. And I'm excited to get the conversation started. And I will see you guys in the next video. I'm going to bed. Good night.